Hello and welcome to Love and the Planets, and I'm Margaret Gray in Dublin.
And I'm Armand Diaz in New York.
So Armand, this week we're looking at the week of August 28th, which is of course the week post the eclipse. So here we are, and it's kind of nice to be through that time, even though, of course, as you were saying earlier, we are still in eclipse weather, but things, feel maybe a little bit different this week. There's the possibility of a little more lightness, don't you think?
Well, the moon is waxing. That's good. And we'll have the first quarter moon, which is an active time, and that's nice. We have the moon in Sagittarius, and that's lovely. Venus will have moved into Leo, which is a much more outgoing, more fun type of sign than the more conservative Cancerian vibe that really just until Sunday before. Yeah, it should be good, although we start off with the moon in Scorpio, and that could be a little bit intense.
Well, it's kind of nice because we've got the two planets of relationships in Leo this week, both Venus and Mars in Leo. And, we've talked a lot around the eclipse. We talked about the Leo energy being, more open, more generous, heartfelt. So this is kind of a nice opportunity to maybe have a little bit of fun together. And by the way, of course, you wrote a blog on Venus in Leo, so listeners can kind of refer to that on our Facebook page or on our website. But yeah, it just feels a little bit lighter, particularly as you said, when the moon is in Sag.
Well, as we get towards the weekend, though, we're going to have Mercury and Mars are beginning to, or actually sitting on the eclipse degree. And they're very likely to act as the triggers for the eclipse. And so we after a little bit of a break at midweek, we may find that we're sort of back in it. We may find that some of that energy that was seeded at the eclipse actually winds up erupting more towards the weekend of this week.
That's so true. And one of the things we kept saying in the weeks before, we were telling people to be careful about taking action, to really think about before taking any action. And yet the eclipse energy was so kind of action oriented. So I think what you're saying kind of really makes sense, because you're saying maybe this is the time to kind of really take action, that we've sat on, that Mars might fuel it. But of course, because it's a Mars in Leo, and also it's trine Uranus at the weekend. So it could be, we could take action in some kind of unique way. It could be fun and exciting, but on the other hand, it might be a little jagged, a little jarring. So to be a little careful, maybe.
Well, I think that if we have had, and we have had the time, despite the eclipses and the sort of astrological storm that's been going on, we have had the time to consider the possibilities. And so if we're taking good, heartfelt actions that are well considered, this is certainly the time to go. On the other hand, it could be a kind of impulsive, I'm going to do something just because I can do something kind of energy. And, when it comes to relationships, that's where we can sometimes get into trouble. It's a little bit of that sort of, I'll show you type of thing, or I'll take it out on you.
So true. And also, of course, that Mercury is going back into Leo middle of the week. So, it might be worth thinking back, check back into July 5th to the 25th, what was going on then, because there might be something we want to review or redo or, kind of do differently. But, Mercury in Leo is such fast-paced energy. So whereas the Mercury retrograde in Virgo is very pernickety and picky, when it's in Leo, it might really miss some of the details and stuff. So again, just to be a little cautious in communication, and of course, electronic communication, all kinds of things can happen.
Yeah, oh, without a doubt. I think it is a very, very active week. And, I think midweek we get kind of a nice sort of, open vibe. When we get to the weekend, I mean, it can still be open, but it's going to be very active. And I think, just being aware that, yes, go forward with what you want to go forward with, but, be careful and choose wisely.
Do you think it's a good time, though, for people who are single to maybe start a new relationship, to initiate something new? What do you think about that? I've kind of been reading comments on Facebook and people are asking those questions, and just wondered what you thought.
You know, yeah, it's, I think sometimes in the midst of a bit of a storm is exactly the time that you're, most open and ready for these types of changes and to open up to new possibilities. That is certainly something that I think is very, very strong with this whole eclipse season, is opening up to new possibilities. I would actually think it's a great time to meet somebody new, to connect, and so on. I find that it might be more challenging if if you've been in a relationship and you're thinking, well, should we go to the next step type of thing. I think that might call for a little bit more caution. Although, follow your heart.
Absolutely. And we'll see everybody next week. Thanks, Armand. Bye-bye.
Bye.